Welcome to Cooking the Books. I'm Frances Cook. Well, it turns out that you guys really want to talk about side hustles. When we talked about paying off debt using side hustles a few weeks ago, I was inundated with questions about finding more ways to earn extra cash and which ones were worth the time, which is a very good question. You don't want to invest your time or even worse, your money into something that only gives you a little bit back. So, today we're maximizing your spare time so that you can get the most cash for it to put towards whatever your goals are.
News Talk ZB presents Cooking the Books with Frances Cook.
I'm joined now by Chris Walsh from Money Hub. Now, side hustles are something many people are looking for right now to feel that little bit steadier financially, but it can be tricky to know where to look, right? There's quite a bit of snake oil out there.
Yeah, so basically there's a lot that you can do, but now we're seeing sort of a more kind of online side hustle movement. So people sort of are pushing themselves towards like surveys, which I know has been a kind of ongoing thing. We've seen that pick up since March. We've seen people start their own sort of side hustles in terms of like dog walking, pet minding, looking after people's homes, because people are still traveling strangely. We've seen a whole bunch of lawn mowing, people kind of just sort of getting back to basics and looking to ways to make money without actually having to spend up front. So the kind of side hustles, which I think are probably the best ones, they're the ones with no investment. It's just your time and your skill. So, and we've also seen a lot of people move to websites like Fiverr and like Upwork. So these are platforms where you say that you can do web design or coding or graphic design, you can do voiceovers. There's a lot of New Zealanders on these websites. So basically they started off as kind of services that foreigners would do for like American companies, but now these like skill sets so wide and the demand is so huge. I mean, we use Fiverr all the time at Money Hub, like for a lot of graphics, a lot of research things, a lot of manual tasks. And so Fiverr is where it's at. We hired a guy to do some video ads for us through YouTube. They're still in production, but the guy was from Dunedin. So he'd done the campaign for the Dunedin Beer Festival, and we got his rates on Fiverr. It was like, this is great, let's do this. And it's a great product. So Fiverr is where people from New Zealand who are looking to work part-time and just do with their skills, that's where you want to kind of be. Now you are competing. So what it is, it's a big marketplace like Trade Me. So what you're looking at is going there, you say, okay, I do coding. So I don't do coding. I don't know anything about it. If I did coding, I'd say HTML like coding. This is what my packages are. So I can do like 5 hours of work, or I can do one web page up to a certain like limit. And then you name a price. And then you put it out there. Of course, it's kind of like Airbnb. It comes down to, you need to have reviews, you need to have like good sales copy, but then you get people to come over with you. So often I've worked with people who've maybe had like one or two, reviews, not really sure. And then you've kind of just worked with them and you see that they're trying to prove themselves. So side hustles are Fiverr is a great way to make money. I mean, so the platform makes 20% of basically what you charge. So you need to sort of be aware of that. Plus it's charged in US dollars. But right now the exchange rate's about 65 cents. So you could do something for like 100 US dollars. That would be 150 less 20%. You'd get 130 cent to you, or 135. Sorry, my maths. So yeah, there's a lot.
Who can do maths in their head on the fly? Come on.
Oh, well, I'm exchange rates and all that stuff. But yeah, so Fiverr is something that I would suggest people in the creative field look at, because it's not a race to the bottom with prices. There's some of these platforms, and I'll be fully confessional here. Back in 2012, when I started my first business, web hosting and web design, you could hire people, and this is awful, for like $1 an hour. And I mean, that's $1 US, so $1.50. And that's just what the market was, because these platforms were flooded with people trying to get on them, trying to like build up a reputation. Now I've never paid anyone that, but that would be awful. But that's kind of That's where it started from. Now you can get Fiverr gigs. That's what the jobs are called. Some of them start at like $2,000. You know, if some expert, some branding expert, some PR expert like provides a strategy, there's a lot of value there, and the skills are international. So if you're a like New Zealander who has worked in Australia before, who worked in England, you can just use that experience and like list the clients that you've worked on or anything like that, and just pitch it out there. And we're always looking on Fiverr. Like it's fast. You get, actually just before this, someone completed some work for us, so I've got to like review that. There's always Fiverr. It's like the old Airbnb when people used to get reservations, it go ding ding. Now I get like a Fiverr alert on the app, and it just means, you know, there's a big demand. I mean, they listed the company last year, I think, or earlier this year. It's a big platform.
Yeah,
So
I think Fiverr confused people a while because, like you say, it has this history where it was used for very low jobs, and also
$5.
Fiverr,
Yeah.
exactly. You'd think from the name that it's
Yes.
going to be really cheap, but they've since expanded it, and you can
Yes.
freelance on there for some quite lucrative gigs.
Yes.
I'd love to touch on, because Uber is one that people often think of and can also have that impression of not making you very much money by the time you take into account running your car and maintaining it. But there's a trick to things like Uber as well, right?
There is. So basically, yeah, right now, if you went out, Thursday lunchtime, it's not lucrative. I mean, who wants, it's school holidays, people are out and about, but no one needs an Uber. But the trick really is to look for the surge times. So don't, and that of course comes at a compromise to your personal time, but the surge time is like 1 a.m., say CBD Auckland, and it's raining. So if it's like that, you're going to find a lot of work. But actually, just generally, because public transport tends to wind down about midnight, you know, there's no ferries over to the shore. And it's not just Auckland, this is obviously, you know, there's more to that. But we see it in Queenstown. We were there for 3 months, and basically Uber, like it comes alive around midnight. So if you're prepared to do the surge pricing, look for sporting events as well, or big, now that level 1's back on, actually these things can be held. So if you went down to where rugby's being played or any kind of concert, once that starts, like Forsyth Bar Stadium in Dunedin or anything up in Auckland or anything, Cape Town, well, then you'll always find lucrative numbers from there. And also people go from like a like football match to say a bar, and then they go somewhere else and out for dinner. So the kind of so the kind of Uber, it keeps alive for a few hours. It's not just, but I think, I mean, if you are working like on Uber, like 9 to 5, it's going to be a bit of a struggle. And because you're paying the same for petrol, you're probably driving around more waiting for a ride or just killing time. Whereas the surge pricing, and that's when Uber is actually needed. I can take a bus, later today over to Central City, and I don't need an Uber, but I do need an Uber at 3 a.m. when I'm being kicked out of my friend's house. It's time to go home, and that's when you find them. And if it costs $60 to get from Narrowneck back to the north, back to Long Bay, that's fine, because there's no alternative. So there's a lot of money to be made from that. I mean, that trip's about 20 minutes if you use the motorway, and you pay really sort of 40 to 60. So that's a good commission there. And yeah, now the issue is with Uber is that you have to pay insurance for your car, and it's not the same as standard car insurance because you're using it as for business purposes. So you do need to be careful there, and
don't try to skip it, because if you get in a prang and lose your car, it's gonna go badly.
Exactly, and you need a nice car to do Uber. So my type of nice car is like something in the $2,000 range. That's not going to cut it. You do need to go into one of those. I mean, Uber has their own
I must say, Uber's even got fancy since I first used it. I think the first time I used it, I'd gone over to Australia for a friend's wedding.
Yes.
And we didn't know what the transport was like. We ended up in this random place we didn't understand, and we called an Uber, and such an Aussie experience. It was a 2-door ute that we jumped in the cab with the guy, and I was just like, this is so perfect.
That's
and
brilliant.
So Australian.
Which part of Australia was that? A ute?
It was somewhere, it wasn't Sydney, but it was one of the smaller places around it. I actually can't remember.
So Central Coast or something. Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So they actually let like a ute
Back in those
Um,
days, I don't know how it goes
yeah,
now.
it's definitely come. No, my friend was getting home the other day and he got a message say, please sit in the back seat. I'm not sure if that was for COVID. So I think things have, yeah, sometimes in
Yeah.
London, you get
Maybe these
like
days would be put in the
Mercedes.
tray for safety.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just because a lot of people at certain hours can be quite annoying.
Yes.
But yeah, no, so Uber, like if you can do like the basically the surge times, which will be a sporting events, some sort of like concert, plus like sort of yeah, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, those are where it's at. That's where you'll make the money. I mean, nobody at the end of the night, you spend all this money, are people really going to like nickel and dime it and try and find a local bus that connects twice and then has to take a train? They're not.
You just want to go home to bed.
You just want to go home to bed. And so that's where, and there's only so many Uber people. So, so many drivers. So let's be out there and, you know, it'll kind of lower the price for the consumer slowly if there's more of them, but, you know, there's so much demand. So that is a hack there for Uber. And you don't have to do it all the time. You just do it, you know, those hours.
Now, you mentioned before as well the in-person traditional side hustles making a comeback, and I'd love to touch on that a bit more. Things like looking after pets, looking after children. So are they still worth doing?
They are still worth doing, and there is lots of money in them. I think it's sort of recently, perhaps I live in the 80s, like too much, but there's a lot of love now for dogs. I mean, there's always been love for dogs, but now, because we have some dog related stuff on Money Hub and like it's surged. People are really attentive to the stuff. So yes, I would say that, you know, for dog walking, you have a huge demand there because people now working harder than ever, but they still love their dog. I saw this pet food brand launch from the Icebreaker founders. And they're like, so, you know, it's sort of high-end dog food made of like salmon and stuff. So there's clearly a demand. I know, right?
Have beautiful shiny coats.
It's definitely a demand for like luxury pet. But I mean, pet walking isn't, I mean, it's not so luxury. It's just kind of like a standard sort of task. So I saw, when I lived in London, I saw like one of our neighbors' friend had a sort of like a side hustle, but it turned into like a full-time hustle. So he'd basically drive around like Notting Hill, Chelsea, and just pick up all these dogs, and they were like some fancy dogs. And
I was going to say in Chelsea, definitely.
Yeah, and chuck them onto like his van, and then take them into Hyde Park. Or there's sections of Hyde Park and other parks you can do it. And just like walk these dogs. I mean, for me, I'm too anxious. If a dog goes missing, you know, and it's owned by some like Russian people. Oh no, that's terrible. But like, you know, you'd be in trouble or something. No, that's all. Sorry, but like, there's some scary characters there. But yeah. So yeah, he was running this. He was making about £1,000 a week.
Wow.
So $2,000. Yeah, $2,000 for walking dogs.
To hang out with dogs all day. I way prefer dogs to people. I think I need to change careers. I need to be a dog walker.
There's a lot of money. There's a lot of money in dogs.
Wow.
If you're selling pet food, like sort of, you know, stuff, that's kind of like a race to, I mean, that's so competitive, but someone who's a trusted dog walker, you're always going to be, and it's so easy to set that up because you just need to like sort of advertise it, but not with like a whole bunch of advertising campaign, just kind of like locally and build up your dogs.
Like leaflet drops and mailboxes? I
would do leaflet drops.
Okay.
I would start off with a leaflet drop, and if you have your own dog, that's helpful because then you can kind of, you know, basically you already have a client. So that's the dog. And then you can build on that and never advertise it for like free for a week. I mean, never lower the price to zero. That's always, people think I'm new in this, I'm going to do it for free. If you do it for free, if you see someone's going to walk your beloved dog that you've just like, you know, that you've just like fed salmon to for free, you're not going to do it. There's no way. So you do need to always like charge for it, and people will pay.
There's a funny thing, isn't there, where people often, I mean, a lot of side hustles, you might be working on a digital platform where the price is set, or you might be setting the price yourself. And there is an issue where people can sometimes be hesitant to value themselves and their time. And they think the way for me to get ahead is to undercut everyone else, and set myself as the lowest price, or people are just shy about money and feel like I shouldn't feel entitled to be paid for this. Whereas actually there's a funny thing that happens in people's heads. Think about what it's like when you're buying stuff. And if you see something for free, you automatically just don't value it as much. That
Yes.
sometimes people have boosted sales by increasing their price
Yes.
because people then see it as more quality. It's weird, but I mean it's an excuse to value yourself. You are
Yes.
absolutely entitled to.
Yeah, most people don't know what their time's worth. That's the
Mm.
problem. So, and they think, well, this is untested waters. So, what is it? Is it going to be minimum wage? Is it going to be more than that? But I can speak from experience when we've increased the price of products, it gives it more trust and people believe it more. So, if you've gone from 199 to 299 for something, there's been like uptake in that. Plus, you're selling more, plus your margin's higher. So everyone's a winner, and it's the same cost of sale. So I would always say, look at what other people are charging. That's probably a sort of a good way to start it. And you can do some sort of sneaky inquiries with other people, and not in the same area, but something sort of doing it somewhere else in New Zealand where you're not going to be competing with. We've had that with, I mean, I know who our who our rivals are, but they sneak in and try and ask us stuff, and it's like, I know you, I'm not responding. But anyway, but no. So you can always sort of base it on that, but never undersell. But at the same time, don't vanity price, because that's also, people know the value of a dollar. I mean, now more than ever. So
It's
just
hitting that sweet spot, eh? And I think
yes.
that just comes down to research, doing searches, talking to people, and then landing on where that sweet spot you think might be, and then testing it.
Yes, you can just test it, and you can change it so quickly. It's not like you're working in a company where the price of widgets has to go through 3 meetings to get a 5% change. You're the business owner as soon as you do it. So your price of dog walking, of any sort of gardening services, lawn mowing when people go away, for Christmas, over that 4-week period, you set the price. And a lot of people you will pay it because if it sounds good, if you seem trusted. You don't, I mean, lots of people think, oh, I need to set up a side hustle, I need like a website, but you actually don't. Like a Facebook marketing is great if you just do a business page, link it out with your friends, because if you've got like 100 friends or whatever, if you have more, that's great. And then they can all like it. And then once you start getting reviews, you put little features on, little posts, you're just going to it's going to look established. And you can put on specials. You can boost things if you want to, and it's very laser focused. So I can say, I'm doing this, and I'm doing it for homeowners. If I was mowing lawns, for homeowners between the age of 30 and 60 in Auckland, or even sort of Browns Bay area, you can sort of hyper target it. And if you wanted to do that, but I don't think that's necessary. Leaflets are good. Word of mouth is good, and using the local. Actually, this is a great tip. Well, it's using the local Facebook pages. So we have one here in Torbay, and it's great. Everyone's obsessed with it. It's probably
there's always so much gossip and drama on there as well. I love just following them and getting all the local drama. I never post anything.
Right. You're sort of first time poster, later long time reader. Yeah. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on. And I know there's another site like Neighborly and stuff like that, but I think the Facebook groups, which are locally based, you can definitely talk to the moderators and just say, hey, would you mind? I'm doing this. It's not a direct sale. I'm just offering the services, and this is my reputation. If you've established a little bit, people are nice. In this time, people aren't going to be like, no, that costs $1,000 a week for a post or something silly. No, people are going to be helpful, and it's free and it's localized. So that's, for a localized side hustle, that's what you want.
Yeah, cool. All right, we're running out of time, so we're going to try and whip through some more before we run out of time. So what about, we talked about online surveys a couple of episodes ago, and that was really what sparked this episode, because it was the standout feature of the episode. People really wanted to know about taking online surveys in their spare time. The problem is it's hard to know. It's so online, it's hard to know who's the reputable companies and the best ways to do it to actually earn something from them, because it can be a little bit nickel and dimey. So can you make much from them, and where should you check out? Where's good?
Sure. So there's a lot of, so basically, first up, there's a lot of snake oil out there. There's a lot of online survey companies who just want your data and they want you to waste your time, and they'll never pay you. They'll never pay you. Most of the survey companies, they don't pay cash, like the good ones, they pay in vouchers. So that's something just to keep in mind, that you're not going to collect money in like a check in the mail. Not that anyone accepts those anymore, but like some sort of PayPal payment, that's not going to happen. You have to be accepting that it's going to give you, vouchers for farmers, for Kmart, for big retailers, stuff like that, Westfield shops and things like that. So what I would say is look at trusted sites, which this is a little bit of a plug, but if you did look at something like Money Hub or something similar, just Google best online surveys, look at what, the editorial was saying, because their experience, we get through Money Hub a lot of complaints from other survey companies that we do not mention, saying, oh, we did all this stuff and they didn't pay us. And that's terrible, because you've wasted your time. So there's one of them in particular called Nielsen Online. So this is one where you don't even actually have to do surveys. It may not appeal to everybody, but basically you sign up and it installs something into your computer. I know this sounds interesting. And then it just monitors what you do on your computer. And it pays you, this is what, I'm not endorsing this in any way, but this is how passive it is. So it pays you $10 per month in vouchers just to sign up for that. And so that's attractive. But if you stay loyal, then it starts giving you sort of long-term bonuses. So that's something which is quite interesting. And there's other ones which are more kind of just, you download them onto your phone. You just do them when you're waiting at the hairdressers, like waiting for kids to finish school or something. And they're, they're just like sort of general shopping ones, like nothing too invasive. I mean, nothing of these surveys are invasive. It's all just market research.
Yes, I was going to say, what are the good ones for the online shopping?
Yeah, so those ones, there's a French company, but it has a large New Zealand presence called iSay. So that's a good one. You could just Google iSay and sign up to them. You could go also to Valued Opinions. So that's an American company, or sort of British American, and them plus something called Opinion World. So they kind of run parallel, but they're all about what you've bought. And that's what people want to know. And there's also something called Nielsen Home Scan. So what you get is this scanner come in the mail, and you have to scan everything you buy. And it's so it's not actually, so basically just the barcodes. So it's kind of detecting that. It's kind of a weird thing. And then that sort of feeds into something, I don't know, and they're kind of extracting the information from that. So these things, I know that some of them install sort of apps onto your computer or onto your phone, or you have to scan stuff, or even give out information, but it's not being used against you. It is just for vouchers. And it's not going to pay, I'll be honest, it's not going to pay minimum wage in terms of vouchers. It's not, because if it did, that would, the value, I think the information's not that valuable, because they need it en masse to be able to, do anything with it. But you will get sort of $5 here, $10 here, and it basically adds up, kind of like a cashback credit card. You make, $10 there, well, that's 10 cents you get back if it's 1% cash back, then another 20 cents later on the bus top up. And then eventually you've got back, $20. Yeah. Although you do actually have to do work for it, as opposed to just spend money like a cashback card. But
yeah, well, this is the thing, right? Is when you're somewhat exchanging your data for money. I mean, for starters, there is going to be a loss of privacy there. That's literally the deal. But it's low effort. They need a lot of people just to tell them about their day. And I do think you always have to think about the level of skill involved is still going to equal how much money you get. You've got things like Fiverr, where you are freelancing skills that you might have got from your day job.
Yes.
And that you can get a lot more from. Yes. Then you've got things like the physical, looking after pets, looking after kids. People will still pay a lot because they have to figure you out. You have to be trustworthy. That's a skill. And then you've got things like the online surveys. Hey, it's not much, but anyone can do them. And yes. it's very much worked in, and it's your spare time. That's so right. I think it's still, even though it's side hustles, you're still making that old equation of skills that you are bringing to the table versus how much you get paid, right?
Yes, that's right. The surveys will be the lowest because it's not so much a skill, it's more like data entry. But then Fiverr stuff, or like sort of working online for like clients like overseas, like almost like a night hustle, that would be high valued because you're offering, your like specific talent. So that would be there. And then things in between, like dog walking. Okay, well, anyone can walk a dog, but would you want to, and do you feel like responsible enough to? So it kind of, the
And
value
you are
is
picking
in,
up poop. Where there's muck, there's money.
you are, and also people will make sure that you do it as well. So especially
Oh,
on
yes.
those,
Have you ever tried not picking it up when there's people around? It won't happen. You're going to
it
get
won't
shamed.
happen. It won't. You'll be named and shamed on a local Facebook group.
Yes.
So,
And I will read it and laugh at you.
yeah. So basically there's a lot out there. And I think people just need to like take a risk. You don't need the money to set it up. That's the thing. You can do it. Leaflets are cheap, go down to warehouse stationery, any printing, or just print it yourself, chop them up. Just get them out there. You can even design it on Fiverr. If you wanted to pay some money to get a nice flyer done, just go on Fiverr, say, this is what I'm planning to do. Put it out there. I mean, people do. I mean, you will see sort of letterboxes say no circulars, but I would still think, I don't know if it is a circular or not.
We might be on a grey line there. Careful, we'll get hate mail. Super fast, the very last one I wanted to mention, a great one that if you're looking for some extra cash, can be selling things that you don't use around the home, turn your clutter into cash. Or things like the trade me flipping, finding things that are a bit run down in op shops that need some love, giving them paint, giving them a sand down, or, sometimes people will find nice clothes and sell those. There is the selling things online market, Facebook Marketplace, as well as Trade Me. What do you make of that? It can be lucrative for some people, I know, do very well at it, but you're also quite dependent on finding customers, right?
Yeah, well, they have huge reaches. I mean, Facebook Marketplace, I've heard different things, whereas Trade Me is more established in terms of it's built on like reviews and trust. Whereas but I would say that like a side hustle, if you wanted to do a one-off sell down, just sell it, because if the stuff you don't need it, then it's got no value. So why not get rid of it? It doesn't mean you have to go and like buy more stuff. It's just, there's so much, even like deceased estates, you sort of inherit some stuff, or somebody's moving boxes around, there's always boxes that never get opened. Just sell it. And they have a huge volume of people. I'm amazed with what I see on Trade Me. We do like a little guide to Trade Me selling, to kind of like 20 tips to kind of make it sort of easier for you, and just to be able to price things as high as possible. So if you just need to kind of do the basics there, there's a lot of money to be made. Strange stuff sells for like high amounts of money. I know years ago we sold some old shavers of my granddad's. I mean, I don't know who would have bought these, but they were sold for like $100 each. There was like 4 of them, $400.
That's random.
Some random stuff, and we're like, what are we going to do with these? I'll chuck them on Trade, because we're doing a whole big like flogging out stuff. And so there is, I just think, make sure you always deliver, and make sure you don't sell anything that's not yours, because it's all very, and also just, I know, but some things are joint owned or whatever, but I think Trade Me is a great place. I can't speak to Facebook Marketplace just because it's not as authenticated. I mean, anybody, you don't
have the review system and things.
You don't. People fall through. Whereas I've heard a lot of time. Actually, we have looked at it through Money Hub, just doing a guide. But there's so many things you need to know. It would be like 100 things. So sometimes I think Trade Me is just more valuable. It doesn't cost much to list, and you can make that back pretty quickly just with a few sales. But in terms of buying and selling stuff, so you're buying low, selling high, that is tricky, but it can be done. So I know somebody who does a lot of phone products, so buys them in from China. He's about 20. He's probably going to be quite successful, I would say, financially, because of his love of the hustle. But he does them en masse, and he's got good taste. And he's running it out of his parents' bedroom, which is now not his parents' bedroom. He lives with them because he goes to AUT. And he's just selling a lot of stuff day to day. And there's a demand for it. And he seems to be, I would have thought people could replicate that. But I think whatever you do, and I've made this mistake back in my youth, don't buy stuff en masse and then try and sell it. I mean, it sounds obvious, and you get, oh yeah, this would sell one at a time. And maybe buy 10,
test the market.
Test the market. Don't buy 100 of something. Or I think, it's very easy to get carried away, but that's money that's like basically dead. So if you are going to do it, I would start with a good Trade Me clear out and get some good reviews, like send things promptly, and then think, okay, well, I made $1,000 off Trade Me after selling all the stuff. Let's now look at selling stuff if you have a particular taste or something that you think there's a gap in the market, but it is competitive. So for every person selling iPhone accessories, there's a lot of people sitting on a bunch of stock. So don't be one of those people. And there are other things like that, like drop shipping, which you see the ads on YouTube. Sign up
I
for
feel
this.
like drop shipping got overhyped and it's not as easy as people make out.
It's a slow moving disaster. And I don't speak from experience, but I think it's not a side hustle. There's a lot of people making money off drop shipping, but it's not the drop shippers. It's more of the people introducing people to it's a little bit tricky. So I think stick to basic. I mean, like you don't have to pay to get your Facebook marketplace traffic, or you don't have to pay to get your Trade Me traffic. It's free. So market properly to them and test it out. Never go in big with a side hustle. Never commit yourself to anything that you can't deliver.
Yes, I think
Not
that's
fun.
Absolute evergreen advice there. Just start small, see how it goes, see if you enjoy it. And don't make a side hustle more of a headache than it's worth. It should be about improving your life, getting a little extra cash in to meet whatever your goals are, and then hopefully fitting that around your life, not turning it into a giant headache. Hey, thank you so much.
That's
Chris
fine.
Walsh
Thank you.
from Money Hub. Now, if you are interested in knowing more about this, I mean, this episode came from all of your wonderful feedback from the last one. So if you want more things like this or to go into more depth on something, let me know. You can find me pretty much anywhere online: Facebook, Frances Cook Journalist; Twitter, Frances Cook; Instagram, Frances Cook NZ. Pick your favorite, send me your questions. Let's get it into a future podcast episode. You can also subscribe to Cooking the Books anywhere you find your podcasts, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. Until next time, have a great day.